What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Out of Our League. My name is Gage. I'll be your host today. Joining me over on the left-hand side, we have Al, the Predator Tribesman.
Hello.
To my right, we have Philip J. Woodward.
I just want to say, Rahul, you're pretty good.
I liked that. Is that your snake?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fantastic. There you go.
Yeah, we call him Semi-Solid Snake. Bottom left-hand corner, we have McKenna from Patch Notes and HBO Max.
Hello,
With a K, I should specify for legal reasons. Down in the right-hand corner, we have Bennett. Please be excited.
What's up?
And right down
What's
below,
a bit scratchy today? Ooh.
yeah, it is. Right down below, joining us, our very special guest this week from iZombie and The Haunting of Bly Manor and Harley Quinn, we have Rahul Kohli. What's up, Rahul?
Hey, how you doing? How you guys doing?
Also, Gears
Doing
5.
very well.
I should mention that too.
Oh yeah.
It's true. Couple different characters in Gears 5, if I remember correctly.
No,
Is it not?
Nope, just
no.
Is it all the same?
I don't have
Oh, wait,
the range.
I
don't
might
have
be
the
thinking
range
of-
for that.
Is it Rage 2?
Rage 2. You're right.
That's
yeah,
the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
that
Rage
you have a
was-
couple different ones in there.
yeah. I think they all sound the same. But because it's open world, if you hide them in there, then
Yeah.
you don't realize.
Right,
If you had
don't
all
notice it.
three in the scene, I'd be screwed.
I mean, to be fair, if you look at older video games where they had like 5 guys doing,
Elder
800 different
Scrolls, anything from
characters, yeah.
Bethesda, like
Oh,
holy
yeah.
crap, like every single character is voiced by the same person.
Absolutely.
So, and you can
Oblivion
tell it's
and-
not even like they try to hide it. It's
Yeah.
just, hey, you speak these lines well.
I'd like to go back to that kind of world, to be honest. I think now, as an actor, you're required to there's so much extra that's become normalized of what's expected of you. You're supposed to be I don't know, a dialect king. You to the point where everyone's expected to sound like they were born in the place that they did the accent. Everyone's supposed to have 3%
Right.
body fat and abs.
Yeah.
So what happened to the old days? De Niro, when you could, you know what I mean? Where you just keep the same accent and you can flux, anyway. You didn't have to look like you were in 300.
Makes me think of Fable. That's
Fable,
You hear the same voice lines over and over and over.
for sure, yeah.
Back when Gerard
Absolutely.
Butler got away with his American accent for 2 decades.
American, quote
something.
unquote.
Yeah, I'm not going to comment on that because I'm not particularly good at it either.
So
Well, that's the thing that we probably should have informed you. This whole episode has to be done in an American accent. Sorry.
Oh, well, enjoy the rest of the podcast, guys.
no, it's okay. If you want me to go that way, I'll go that way too. If you want to.
That's good. I like that. That's good.
So for those who may not know who you are, why don't you give us a little idea of who Rahul Kohli is?
Yeah, I'm an actor. Had a little bit of success, I guess, with my first show, which started in 2014, 2015, which was iZombie. Was on that for about 5 seasons, and then and that had its own small kind of cult following. And then in between seasons, because obviously you're contractually obliged, you're kind of locked into a show, so you don't necessarily have the same freedom to go and do other projects. But I was fortunate enough to pull some other kind of credits in there that were like Harley Quinn, like Gears. And then when that show ended, I went on to do The Haunting of Bly Manor, which was a fairly big hit last year. And that's led to some more work with Mike Flanagan. So that's where I'm kind of at the moment. So it's still very early for me. It's technically, I guess, The Haunting of Bly Manor is really only my second credit post, getting to America, getting into bigger shows. So I'm still quite early on in my career.
It's definitely been an interesting transition, because I didn't find out about you through Funhouse or Kind of Funny. I found out about you through iZombie. That's how I was initially introduced to you, was Ravi.
Oh, cool.
And It was very interesting. So a while ago, almost a year and a half ago now, I did a Photoshop of you as Reed Richards, and it was like I had just started getting back into Photoshopping, and it wasn't a great job, but you still enjoyed it and you retweeted it, and it got like, I don't know, maybe 80 likes total. And then now come this past November, when after Haunting of Bly Manor was really at its peak, I did, for your birthday, I did a newer version of that one, with a good picture of you, and I redid a bunch of elements on the Deadpool outfit and posted that one online, and you retweeted that one, and that one has gone crazy. I mean, it's been featured on comicbook.com and a bunch of crazy places that I never even imagined could happen, and it's been mind-blowing.
Yeah, you got Boss Logic worried.
I don't think anyone's got Boss Logic worried, but it was definitely shocking. Anyway, the reason I bring that up is,
Thank you for that, by the way. I appreciate it. Whenever, even no matter how good or how much time someone puts in, it's very sweet to know that you're thought of, or someone even spent 5 minutes cutting your face out. Like, I always find that very sweet. So it's not like I necessarily have a dog in the fight. I just always appreciate the effort and the support.
Well, and so for me, it was just as a fan casting thing. I thought it was a really cool idea, because, you know, seeing you as Ravi, and thinking about you as the scientific type, I was like, he'd be great. You know, he looks like Reed Richards. He would be a great, you know, character for that, or a great person for that role. And so I just really enjoyed the idea of it and decided to roll with it. But I think what I loved that came out of that, more so than it blowing up or whatever else, was your response to it, in the way that you were like, it's not about me getting cast in this role. It's about presenting the idea that someone that's not a white dude could get cast in this role. You know, spreading the idea that other people could be in this role. People of color could take the spot of this dominantly white character. And I think that's the thing that I really liked that came out of that, more than anything else. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not trying to fight anything. It's like, where that kind of stuff is concerned, where the fan casting is concerned, at a base level, like, okay, so I mean, I'll walk it back a little bit. So as a kid, I would cosplay, role play, pretend I was Batman or James Bond or whoever the hell I was liking at that time, and no one ever told me that I couldn't, or that didn't fit. You know, do you know what I mean? Or there was some sort of accuracy where that character was concerned. And it wasn't until I became an actor and started seeing limitations where that was concerned. And so it kind of bugged me, because I came from a theatre background. Now, where theatre's concerned, no one bats an eyelid if you play Richard III and you're not white. It doesn't happen. Now, where that's concerned, they will be offended if someone who was white played Othello, because that is that is one of the only representation in Shakespeare where that character requires a black actor. So, but when it comes to roles where most of these plays are predominantly written with white people in mind, we are far more tolerant, accepting, and excited when there are new takes on it, when people bring a new kind of flavor to that character. That doesn't happen in film. For some reason, when we get to film and TV, we're all about hyper accuracy and realism, regardless of someone's ability. And I think over the years, we've seen examples where an actor may not be necessarily tonally accurate in terms of their race, but embody everything, like completely embody that character to the fullest. For me, if you presented me with someone like Lakeith Stanfield and Jared Leto, and I was asked to pick who'd be the Joker, I've got a good feeling that Lakeith might embody that character a hell of a lot more. But his race takes him out of the conversation. And so when I do see famous characters, like it was, and I get a lot of like Reed Richards and Doctor Who and James Bond and whatever, like Carl Catan had come up. Whenever those things come up, to me, I it's a double-edged sword because I like the idea that I'm trying to say, hey, look, like, sure, in some ways, if you squint, I do look like some of the comic drawings of Reed. But at the same time, the fastest thing that happens is it opens me up to racial abuse, and it also it is then twisted and turned into role begging. And that's why I've started to turn a little bit on fan castings, and I keep my mouth shut, because what it does is that it just invites unnecessary hate. So with the Reed Richards, for instance, like that all piped up again last week, and I stay out of it because I'm like, I don't really, for no reason, for a role I'm not being approached for. And bear in mind, I don't have the schedule to do that. Like I am booked out until 2022 for work. So me even saying, "Oh look, that's a cool picture of Ezra Bridger that Boss Logic did," I was locked into work. There's no world in which I could ever commit to playing those characters in the first place. But I enjoyed the support, the idea that it could be people of color. Has now just in turn, like, I just open up conversations where I'm reading people go back and forth where they're like, you know, oh, I've never seen an Indian with the name Richards, and I don't need to read that anymore. So I've kind of stepped back, and that's what I read last week was, or whenever the Reed Richards stuff was just a bunch of discourse about why can't they just get their own roles and do this, and what India like, and I was like, I've started to, like, I don't know. And when I encourage it, like, I loved the picture you did. I just loved it as a piece of art, to be honest. And I loved how juiced up everyone got, right?
Yeah.
But then there's a flip side to it, which is you'll read the backlash, and I'm like, is this worth it for something I'm not going to do, that I have no fucking interest in doing? Is this worth it? Like, just to remind people that people of color can play white roles? I don't know if it's worth it. And that's why I said, like, fan cast someone with thicker skin. Because I do
Yeah.
take responsibility. Maybe I just don't have I don't have thick enough skin for the discourse.
And that's definitely an interesting flip side to it, because I didn't see any of that stuff. Like the retweet that you did was mostly met with, like, positivity originally. And then I forget where I saw, I think it was Facebook, someone reposted it, and my wife was like, "Oh, hey, this thing you made is on my Facebook timeline." And I was like, "What?" So I went and looked at it, and then I started reading the comments there, and that's where I got hit with, like, "No, this is just John Krasinski. This is just, like, how could you even do that?" And I read through all these, like, horrible comments, and a lot like you, as the person who made it, I was like, "Oh God, like, I don't know if I have thick enough skin to take this abuse."
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, there's
and
a trade-off to stuff like that. And
yeah, for sure.
I experienced the same thing with Ezra Bridger. And I've said this before. I don't give a fuck for the character. I don't wish to play him. I don't have the time. I am busy. And I mean that. And I'm not saying that in an arrogant way. I'm saying that there is no role begging going on here. I am okay. Like, the rent is paid. But when I was watching an episode of Rebels and I was headed to the gym, it was a literal thing where I just joked that I was getting in Lothal shape. When I saw what had happened when I got out of the gym an hour later, and there were, like, articles, and it had trended already, the name Ezra Bridger had trended. This was during just before the Mandalorian started. A lot of weird things happened. So firstly, it was met with this intense excitement, and you're like, holy shit, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like, everyone's like, oh my God, if this guy is Ezra Bridger, this is dope. I want to hear where Ezra's been. And I watched this just spiral. And it was funny because I also at the same day said I'm not Ezra Bridger, but then that doesn't work because people will say Disney have told him to. Oh, he fucked up. Disney are now involved, and they're going, backtrack. None of this happened. So no, there's nothing you can do once it's out there, because every time you say no, you look more guilty. So, being an idiot, I will then mess with that. So I started trolling for a little bit, but everyone was in on the joke. I was shooting Midnight Mass. I was on set on Midnight Mass, but some days I wore a Lucasfilm sweatshirt when I went to work on a Netflix project, and people were like, oh my God, he's on set right now of Mandalorian. And again, it's exciting, and it got some cool fan art, and Boss Logic got involved, and then weirdly Ahsoka mentions Thrawn, and it looked like I stumbled into something, because that happened weeks later. So it was almost like I just kind of accidentally got it right, that there was a world in which this was happening. Cool. And then it turns into something else, and then you start seeing it go, fuck that guy, too old, too fat, too this, too that. And then it just gets into like, you're begging, this is pathetic, and it just and you're like, holy shit, it's so the way that flips, and then you never want to do it again. So for all the fun it was at the beginning, now it's just like, I don't know, now it just kind of breaks my heart a bit. And
Yeah, that's got to be real hard as a, such a large Star Wars fan, to have like such a negative community reaction.
But it was initially positive, and
Right.
it was mostly positive. But I can't do, when everyone's like, yeah, but 95% of the people liked it. Cool, but 5% said some really fucked up stuff. So you know what I mean? Like, to me, the 95 doesn't make up for it. That's how I
Right.
feel. So I just now sort of stay away from it on the whole. But it's still sweet. Like, the Doctor Who one is probably the one I get to death. And I appreciate all of that, and it's exciting. But it's also taught me some stuff. Like recently, I was up for some projects, or I am up. There are things that obviously I can't talk about, but would upset a lot of people if I was cast as this role. And there's been conversations with my loved ones where I'm like, yo, if I do this, I might quit social media, or I might have to go away, because I can't take the racial heat on this. I can't take what's going to happen to you, what's going to, like, the things that my parents will read about me. It's going to be nasty. And so the fact that it's already like, I just want to do the work and play these amazing characters, and the fact that I'm already at a point where I'm like, do I want to do this? Do I want to open myself up to all of this abuse for because some creative thinks that this is the direction they want to go? I don't know. So I'm still working all of that out.
Yeah, and well, I'll get back on track, in the sense that I didn't actually bring that up for that discussion. I'm glad we talked about it, because it's a great discussion.
Sorry,
to
it's
see.
just relevant. It was just relevant.
No, absolutely, absolutely. The whole reason I brought it up was to show the difference between your rise as a star from iZombie to Bly Manor, where things just kind of exploded in your general popularity. Going, from that tweet that had 80 likes when you retweeted it, to the, now like 30 something thousand or on Instagram, and like 13,000 on Twitter and stuff. So I think it's great to see you, being so beloved in this role, especially in the role, in Haunting of Bly Manor. Your character in that was so charming, and so believable. Like, it was a fantastic thing, and it was like a nice stark contrast to the lovable, fun, getting to almost play on set every day. At least that's what it seemed like for Ravi.
Yeah. Yeah, it caught me off guard. There was definitely an overnight change when Bly Manor came out, because I'd written it off. I've spoken about it. I'm pretty honest. I didn't really give a shit. When I first got the role, I was just super excited because Hill House was fantastic, and I was dying to meet Mike, and that was it. And that was the reason to do the role. And when I read the script, I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, I wasn't like, this character's fantastic and it's going to make me a star. And I just was like, oh, okay, cool. And when I first met Mike, I was just like, he's like, what do you want to do? Like, I'm here for you. And what do you want to create with this? And I was like, I don't know, whatever you want, mate. Like, I'll just do what's on the page. So I never put any kind of like hype or stock into it. I wasn't like, yo, when this drops, or my team will get excited. I remember even saying, which I don't think I've ever said to anyone, but when it was time to do publicity, I had asked my team for me to take a back seat, because I didn't feel like I wanted my voice heard, because I would rather they focus on the girls and they focus on Tania, and it's their story. I'm just there as a supporting chef. But then when the show hit and everyone was very I don't know, celebratory, and yeah, it caught me off guard. I was at work that day, and like it was a Friday night, and by Saturday when I caught up with the tweets, I was like, oh, this is intense. But because it's all happened at COVID, it doesn't feel like anything's changed. When I got iZombie, you'd go out on the street and you'd get recognized, and you'd feel a shift, and you'd be like, oh my god, wow, people are watching this. This is wild. And you'd go on KTLA and do all of the promotion for it. For Bly, I checked Twitter, and that's it. That's all that's happened with Bly. It's not outside of my phone. There has been zero change because of the state of the world. Because I don't know what it's like to walk around a mall, and have people watched it. Is it just social media? So it'd be very interesting to see if there's what the ripple effect is once the world goes back to normal.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Did you when you're filming Bly, did you have sort of any idea at any point that it was something really special and unique? Like, was there sort of a moment that might have hit you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I knew the show was good. I loved the scripts, and I there were a couple of episodes that really stood out to me. So I was excited as an ensemble. I was excited for my co-stars and for people to meet Amelia Eve, who was playing Jamie, and I knew Tania was killing it.
So good, yeah.
So yeah, no, I was excited on that respect, but at no point was there any consideration for me. I didn't think like, well, my tweets are going to get more engagement now, or who knows, maybe I'll start getting calls for stuff. I never had any kind of, there was no, I didn't foresee any time. The only thing that had happened was Mike Flanagan directed episode 1 of Bly Manor. So that would be my first days working with him. And he started sizing me up on set on the first day, and he said something to me between takes, and we'd barely been working. And it turns out that he was already casting me in his head for Midnight Mass. And then, so we started filming in September, Bly Manor, and then in November, I ended up taking a meeting with Mike, and he pitched me the show, and I took the job on the spot. So for me, Bly Manor had done everything I wanted it to do for me personally before it had even finished filming. So we had still got to go till February, and by November I was already like, holy shit, I got this amazing show booked. Like, so my head was almost already checked out. I was like, I got what I needed from it to move forward. So anything else after that was just a bonus.
I think it feels nice to be appreciated for who you are as an actor, as opposed to like looking like beyond your race and everything. But is there any scenario that you see yourself actually fighting that horrible fight for, and maybe like just, going all in for a role?
Yeah.
Is there any scenario you see yourself doing that in?
Yeah, there is one. And it's been in conversation. I can't really go into it, but there is something that would probably cause a lot of discourse, and like, but I also when I'm presented with that and I think about it and it keeps me up sometimes, I think about what it will do to the 11-year-old me who wanted to see that kind of representation. So it's like,
and for people like me as well, I'm only here to make you feel safe around these people. So
but yeah, like that.
Like the last thing you want to see, a lineup of white people is the last thing you want to see when you agree to do a thing with like a channel that's abbreviated SS. So let's just say that.
Jesus.
I never noticed that. I appreciate you keeping an eye out for me.
My pleasure, Rahul. My pleasure. Sorry.
No, look, like at the end of the day, I understand that how I feel about that kind of discourse, and it's very personal to me. Really, it's me not thinking about the bigger picture. It's me wrestling with my own feelings and not what I could necessarily do or represent for not even like just my race, but ethnic minorities on a whole, we win as a group sometimes. Like,
Absolutely.
it benefits us all. So there is a world where if I turn something down out of fear for what I'm going to get personally, and then that role eventually just goes to something that's more safe, I've technically slammed a door, not just for myself but for others. Because what if I do it, and what if it's good, and what if that opens up 5 more risky casting things? So yeah, I'm scared. Yeah, and sometimes, and I don't want to fucking read it on social media all the time, but I think when push comes to shove, I probably would. I probably would be like, nah, I could take it. I'll do this. Because I think what it can do in the bigger picture is far more important than just my feelings
Awesome. Thank
and
you
my
for that.
parents' safety. But yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely anytime it opens up, even if it's not for you, it's such a great thing to see when companies and people and corporations and big wigs, whatever, become more open to the idea at diversity in casting, for sure.
Absolutely. And it takes a few people to do something that looks financially risky, that's going to create a lot of discourse, but then land the ship. And when they land it and it's still a box office hit, and you go, and then you can present those figures and go, see, so it wasn't a big deal. So you shouldn't just listen to the shittiest parts of social media. You still got your money back. It's still a hit, and you took a risk. So it's going to take people to do that and then present that evidence for those to continue.
All right, let's break it up with a community question. Gage, I think you had one, right?
I do. It's not open. Hold on, give me a second. All right.
This is coming from Vits Patel.
Okay, there we go. Another tweet loaded, finally. All right, so Vits says, thank you for always speaking your truth and sticking to your values of being a decent person. I wanted to ask, what would make for the best care package from here in the UK? What's going in it? Proper biscuits, chocolate, etc. By biscuits, he's referring to cookies for all my American friends.
Right, not a hot scone from Popeyes, which I do like, by the way. It took a while to get on board with the biscuit here, but now it's the first thing I devour in my Popeyes. Care package from home. Where do I start? Okay, so baked beans, which is a staple in any British diet. They are got the same packaging here. It looks like the same tin, but it's got double the sugar and it's awful. Heinz baked beans. So that's the first thing I have in my care package from home. PG Tips, which is my tea of choice. Nice. And the dope thing about that is I think I've had it. I've mentioned it so many times on social media that now when I start a new production, craft services who I've never met before, somehow always like, hey, by the way, Rahul, we got this, and it's usually a box of PG Tips, and it's like the sweetest thing like that a production does. So I'm like, oh, amazing. I'm a big, we call them crisps, you call them chips, but the UK chip scene is parallel to none. I love Flaming Hot Cheetos. You guys have got some great chips here, but you ain't got Monster Munch, you ain't got Hula Hoops, Real McCoy's, Skips. It's all junk foods. And then a couple of cans of Guinness will do. That's the other one.
Very nice.
Nice. That's awesome.
Well, most of those are probably just made up words, but
it's true. I could have said anything. Some flip flops, some doobie doos.
All of us are just gonna go. Yeah, sure. Sounds good. All right. Let's kick it over to. Let's go to Al. Do you have a community question, Al? You want to ask?
I do have a community question. It's from Hoodie Peaks over at the Penny Marvels. He asks, as someone who is fan cast a lot, deservedly so, love you and your work, in parentheses, what character would you fan cast yourself as?
Full circle. Full circle.
Yeah.
Now, this could be a video game. It doesn't have to be a movie. Just any sort of fan casting that you would put yourself into.
And we promise we're not going to connect that fan casting with that role you're going to fight for.
Oh yeah, the one that the Holy Grail. would I be fan cast as? Look, I'll be honest with you. A lot of the things that people do throw up do get me jazzed a little bit. The Reed Richards one is interesting because I don't think it's about me. I don't think it's got anything to do with me, to be honest. I just think it's that I have a passing resemblance to John Krasinski, and I also happen to be an ethnic minority. So it's like, do you want spicy John Krasinski instead? Just as an alternative. It's like you know what I mean? So it's a safe kind of race bending casting. So I don't think it's got to do with me, but for me, the ultimate role would be Kyle Katarn. Kyle Katarn.
That would be amazing.
That would be the one. Like, it'd break my heart if I booked Ezra, because then I wouldn't be able to play Kyle Katarn. And if I booked Ezra and then Filoni and that were like, hey, come on board, amazing, and then I hear some motherfucker got Kyle Katarn, I'd be livid. It's not what to. So yeah, Kyle Katarn's the holy grail for me of video games. But I'm not even like I'm about to get real honest with you guys. Right now, I'm not fighting. Like, it's all well and good to talk about Batman and Reed Richards and all these ridiculously huge lead roles. A lead role would be a treat right now, because it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, great. Like, I'm in these shows, I'm in iZombie, but I still play these secondary characters that are purses to their leads, where the story never really revolves around that character's journey. And I'm 35 years old, and I'm still playing side characters, which I enjoy and I do wholeheartedly, and I'm very grateful for. But I've yet to even be in a rom-com or a situational comedy where I'm running the show, or at least the lead character. So I'd like to start there before we talk about Disney, Marvel, DC. Like, I got to do that first before someone throws you the keys to, the Millennium Falcon or an Aston Martin or something.
Absolutely. And that actually leads into another question. I'm just going to kind of link it here, since it could just be a quick answer. But Brian Cheney, T-Rex Can Swim on Twitter, he says it's so freaking cool that we're talking to you, but he wants to know if you could pick a dream role on a TV series or something like that, what would it be? And then, do you have a preference to this is so I can actually move it into something else? Do you have a preference to doing TVs or movies? Would you love to be in like a big movie production, or do you kind of like the smaller scale of TV? Although it's not really small scale anymore when you look.
No, it's definitely changed for sure. No, I don't give a shit about what medium I'm in. That's not my job. My job is to play a character. So I'm not a voiceover actor. That's not my trade. I don't have a trade in that respect. I'm just an actor. So whether it's stage, TV, film, or video game, I don't have a preference. It's always going to come down to the real basic stuff for me, which is what the project's about, who the character, what the story is, and what the character is. So there is no. I mean, look, being a film fan, I have yet to go to the cinema and watch something I'm in on the big screen. I've never really done film. So just for the sake of doing it, I would love to do that, but I don't have a preference. If it never happened, provided I'm still playing stuff, I'm happy. I don't. What would I want to play on TV? I'd like to do. I tell you what, I'd love to play in like a Mindhunter. Find me like a serial killer I look like. That to me is like, I freaked. The casting on that and the performances from the guests who played serial killers were just, they're incredible. And it's like my favorite thing in the world is true crime. So doing that would be like, but I don't think I look like any of the serial killers around. So.
I watched some of the actual interviews after watching Mindhunter.
Same, yeah.
And I was like
Kemper, right?
What? Yeah, exactly. And it's just mind blowing.
The Son of Sam, Charles Manson, Ed, like they were. Even I saw someone overlay the two, and with I think it's the co-ed killer, Ed Kemper. He's speaking in the same rhythm and cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're in sync when you play them together. Like the level, it was that to me was just phenomenal. So that would be my TV pick.
I was just thinking, I don't think I've ever heard anyone be that disappointed that they don't look like a serial killer before. Like, oh man,
Well, it's because you know what, like I got fascinated. I wanted to be a police officer before I was an actor, and which isn't the most popular thing to talk about right now. But I had and still do have very noble reasons why I wish to protect and serve community. Being that I am from a certain community, and so there was a real reason why I wanted to be there. I felt and protect that community. Anyway, but when I became an actor and we started getting into the minds and breaking down and creating and all of that stuff, serial killers for me, I don't fucking understand them. Like I can play a million things and I can understand this and I could, we play Henry V and I could figure that out. But whenever it came to serial killers, I couldn't empathize. I couldn't understand. There was a real mental block for me. Like, what drives you? How are you cool with this? How do you go about your business tomorrow? How do you do that? How do you do that? And because I don't understand it, because I'm so far removed from it, I became obsessed with it. I became obsessed with what made them tick. And through that obsession and then studying crime on the side, like it then became this holy grail thing for me. And I was like, oh, maybe one day I'll dip my toes in. But one, serial killing is almost dead. Pretty much, you can't do it. DNA evidence, it's too hard these days. You can't do it. You'll be lucky if you kill. That's why there's a boom of mass murder, right? Because you can mass murder as long as you got one shot to do as much damage as possible. Whereas with a serial killer, someone who's methodical and takes their time, they'll get caught. There's just no way you can do it. So you have to go way back. And obviously, I'd want it to be in the West because I can't, I speak English, so it'd have to be from the West. And then most of them are white. Because if they were ethnic minorities, they usually get caught on the first or second one. So they rarely get to go on. So I don't look like Ted Bundy or Ed Kemper. So I'm never gonna. So that's why I'm like, man, if one day they find out there was some Indian dude that's got 30 bodies in the basement, I'm fucking in.
Make it happen,
But it's never gonna happen.
I will say
to terrorist reconstructions is the best I could hope for.
I will say it is very hard to empathize with someone that, at least on the surface, seems to have no empathy. So it's
true. I mean, there's a lot going on there, and they are sociopaths and they lack empathy, but they also function. They're highly functioning, and they exist. So therefore, as an actor, there's still the challenge of playing the part that does exist.
100%.
Which is wrapped in a shell of a human. So there's so much there to pick apart.
And speaking of that, I think, Ben, you have a community question for this.
I do.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say that the thing that I don't understand about it is the time management. Like, I can barely live one life, let alone a second life. Like, I don't understand how they do it. It's nuts.
For me, it's the cleaning.
Yeah, too much cleaning.
Like, that's I build a lot of model kits. And a lot of the time what deters me from maybe cracking open the TIE fighter is the airbrushing and then cleaning the paintbrushes and then cleaning out my airbrush. That alone, like if I killed someone, I'm 100% like, I'm never getting away with it because there's still bacon grease in my frying pan from a week ago. There is no way in hell I could methodically dispose of a body, make sure I've got like in the tiles in the bathtub that I had scrubbed there's no way it's happening. I'm getting caught.
It's a lot of work, eh?
Absolutely. I'd be at Ralph's and I'd have blood in my fingernails. Like
just imagine you're like, you got me. I can't be bothered cleaning. Like
I don't know how they do that.
Before we get into the community question, I did want to say I'm a huge, obviously, fan of your work. And like Phil, I've kind of been following your career since iZombie would be. The cast is just obviously incredible, but it just seems like there was something really special about everyone that was on that show. Everyone seemed to have such an amazing time, and obviously, I guess season by season, you get to spend so much time together. So I personally just sort of wanted to ask, are there any sort of fun things you have from set, or any sort of moments that you look on fondly when you sort of think back to iZombie?
Oh yeah, yeah. We had a lot of fun, and it was the perfect cast as well. Like, we were all around the same age. I think only Malcolm was married, and then maybe Ali got married halfway through. But like, so everyone, no one had kids, and we're all abroad, so you become very close because everyone can go out to the pub afterwards, and no one really had any other commitments outside of the show and then being with the cast. So that it kind of happened in a vacuum. It's like lightning in a bottle. Something like Bly, I flew back to Los Angeles like the same day I'd wrap shooting for the week. So I didn't, because I had other stuff going on. So that's usually what a normal show's like, is people do the work, they get on, they take social media stuff, and then they piss off and go back to their families, or they do what they do. iZombie wasn't like that. So we became exceptionally close, and Malcolm, who plays Clive Babineau, and I are the closest, I guess. There are times that iZombie took a lot away from me, which I won't go into, but there were things that it took away, and I harbor resentment for some stuff, but I usually come full circle when I'm like, yeah, but you wouldn't have met Malcolm, and you're godfather to his first child, and he's the only family I have in America. So outside of the UK, when I come to America or when I come home, I go to Malcolm's house for dinner, and I see my godson, and like I have that now in America. And iZombie gave me a sense of family. So so he is absolutely like my favorite person in the world. He really helped me from making bad decisions and kept my nose clean and made sure I didn't fall in with the wrong crowds when the show comes out and all those fake people come along, and you know what I mean? He kept me out of all of that. But my fond memories are like any scene in the morgue where it's Rose and Malcolm and myself, those three, us three playing those three characters in the morgue, were my favorite days on set. They were all fun, trying to mess with each other, trying to one up. Usually two are ganging up on the other one and messing with them, and there was no loyalty, so you don't know which one was going to be kind of like who the thicker thieves 2 was going to be that morning. So the dynamic constantly shifted. Yeah, so I always look back at the morgue days as my favorite days on set, and my favorite days as a professional in any show.
That's awesome. And as I'm from New Zealand, and obviously a kind of funny best friend, so it's so cool seeing Rose and yourself on the show. It was so exciting.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, Rose. I ended up going to New Zealand when Rose was out there too. We did a convention in New Zealand, so I got to explore, and it was an incredible place. But yeah, and she also, I don't know if you saw that, she got to use her own accent for a character during the season.
Yeah, that was
gave her
awesome.
a lot of joy. Yeah.
I love it. That's great. So community questions. We've got one from Mario Piacquadio. Great last name. We love Mario, friend of the show. From Mario Not Bros on Twitter. He says, first of all, this rules, and I agree. This is great. So thanks again for hanging out with us. Secondly, what's Rahul's favorite part of the process of acting?
Wait, was there a first question?
He was just saying that this rules, and this is awesome having you on.
Cool. Yeah, it's awesome. Thank you for having me. What was the second part?
Just what's your favorite part of the process of acting?
Oh wow, I've never been asked that before. What's my favorite part of the process? Oh shit. Oh, I mean, it's the There's two parts. It's at the very start. It's the first time you read everything, and there's this moment where you figure out who they are. You've done your research, you've looked at everything, you've gone back and picked up as much clues as you can from dialogue and the way they've spoken to someone or what hints they've given out. And then there's this moment where you're like, I have the sketch in my mind. I think I know who this person is. And that's the scary part, because sometimes that comes really late. Sometimes it's super early. Like it can happen immediately and you're like, I got this. I'm with it. Sometimes it can happen on set after a week of already filming and feeling like, I don't know what I'm doing. So when that moment does happen, it's like, okay, cool. All right. We're on. And then what's my, I guess it's after the first day of that when you show up, because you rarely get rehearsals. You rarely, like, that doesn't happen anymore. So most people are seeing your work on day one. You're showing up on set in costume and they're like, okay, here we go. We're going to just block this scene. And you've been in isolation working on this character, and then you do it. And depending on how it goes, I'm obviously talking about when it goes well, there's this sense of you doing your job properly. And then there's excitement that you feel from you, your co-stars, the crew. Everyone's like, oh shit, we're making this thing. This was great. That's a great read. I didn't see the character like that, but that's amazing. And I can't wait to see where you take that. That's just such a good feeling on day one where you're like, okay, it's committed. We're in. Let's go. And yeah, those are my
I
favorites.
really like that answer. It's cool. That's good.
So that actually leads me into something that I when you're looking at a script, are you someone that likes to read the entire thing, or do you just read your interactions with people?
No, that's terrible. I mean, I'll mess around and pretend I haven't read everyone else's stuff, just out of like this Ricky Gervais arrogance thing where I'm like, I don't know, mate, I haven't read it. But no, the first thing I want to do is no shit, man. I need to know everything, because you're existing in two places. So first, you're a player, and I got to know what the story is. I got to know what we're trying to say as a company, as a theater company, as a group of actors, as a group of creators. What are we trying to put out here? What's the overall? Forget what you're doing and that little this part. What are we trying to do as a whole? What's our tone? And so you start there and you look at it as broadly as you can, and you try to be as objective as well. And I try so hard when I read a script to ignore my character, because there's a tendency to know that, oh, I'm on this page, I'm speaking, and your mind starts going, what am I saying? Why am I saying that? No, I try and stop that and stamp that out and go, forget it. We're not looking at you right now. It's not about you. So you go as objectively as possible and you go, okay, this is the show. I like it. What's needed from my character? Where do they fit in? What is required of them? So it's like iZombie and Bly are kind of similar. It's very obvious when you read the whole show, particularly with Bly, oh, it looks like Owen might be one of the only outlets of light in this show. So everyone else is like, you're unsure of their motivations. You don't know what's going on with Hannah. You don't know why is Victoria's character? Why is Danny the way she is? What's she being stalked? So there's so many unanswered. What's with the kids? Why are the kids so fucking weird, right? But Owen can't be. Owen is safe from the start. Owen has to be safe. Owen has to be immediately. You get him. There's nothing sinister going on. He is who he is. And tragedy happens to him very early on. So you wouldn't know if you spend time just looking at a character in a very microscopic way before you look at the general overtone. I wouldn't know what my role is on the show. I'd know what the character is, but not what the role is. So when I do that, then I understood, don't try and layer this dude. Don't try and play this weird, like, is he as good as he, like, and it's all bullshit that doesn't need to be there, and it's an actor just being indulgent. No, be a good heart, be safe. The audience need to breathe a sigh of relief whenever we cut back to the kitchen and it's food time, just like anyone else. It's the heart and soul of houses, of homes. And make sure that they like you instantly, because a lot of the heavy stuff happens to you early on, and if they don't like you or know what you're about, no one's going to give a shit when the bad thing happens to you. So so that's what I try and do, man, because like I said, it's the difference between knowing your character and knowing your role, and you have to serve both, because ultimately as much as as much as we're vain and we, want to be this and I want to be that and I want to be on this poster, I want to look good. At the end of the day, the only thing I'm supposed to do is serve a story and entertain my audience. That's it. And anything else is to do with me. That's serving me. That all that extra crap, that's serving me as my vanity, what I want to see. And I'm trying my best to stay out of that insular individualism that I think can be dangerous to an actor, and even now. So anytime, any project I'm on, like the movie I just did, where in theory I was the name of that production, I was the, they had it was an indie film and they didn't know if I'd do it, but I was down. Even there, all ego, all whatever I know, whatever show I've just come off goes out the door. And it's like, okay, I love the scripts. What's needed of me? I need to take a backseat here because it's more important that this is about this person or it's about this story. So I'm trying to keep that work ethic going.
That's awesome. And I think it's interesting to hear you talk about how you looked at that role as like kind of a nothing thing when you first were not, you were like, don't advertise it, let's not go into all that stuff. But then hearing you talk about that character just now, it's so easy to see why I think people resonated with that character so much throughout the show. And it's awesome to hear that you put so much love into the script itself.
Well,
and the overall picture.
I appreciate that. I made a mistake there. When I said don't have, like when I was like, I'm good, I'll take a back. That's vanity. That's me again. That's me going, well, I didn't have the big speeches and I didn't have the big set pieces and the show's not about me. So fuck it. Why am I advertising? That's vanity at work a little bit. But it came from a more insecure place. It wasn't me just like wanting to be a star. And if I'm not the lead, I don't want to be a participant. That's not what happened. But yeah, like it's Owen. Yeah. I mean, that's the point. The point was it's not about Owen. The story is not about Owen. The story is about Danny and Jamie. It's about the kids. It's about Hannah. And those they need support. So be the support. So, shut up and don't distract, even though I grew a stupid mustache, which, distracted a lot. But like, don't, it's not, and I remember that, like saying that to myself over and over and over again. It's not about you. It's not about you. It's not about Owen. It's not about Owen, which was a massive contrast to iZombie, because I was a bit more hungry and a bit more selfish. And I think I made a lot of scenes about me when they shouldn't have been. And Ravi was a very potent character that could take over a scene. And I was more than happy to do that to my co-stars, which I look back now and I'm like, yeah, that I probably could have been a bit more, I don't know, duller, or at least been a bit more of a team player. But, I was trying to Sheldon Cooper up everything because I didn't know if I was going to work again. So it's a process. You learn, you get experience and whatever.
I think one of the more interesting things that I've learned is I never really thought about contractual obligation and being tied to a show. You mentioned how, theoretically it could have kept you away from other things because of that contractual obligation. When a character leaves a show or whatever and whatnot, like Shamar Moore, for example, was a huge part of my life in Criminal Minds. And so when he announced that he was leaving the show, I was like, but why? Like, but then the idea that he wasn't or may not have been able to do other things due to contractual obligations or, time frames or something. Well, it's like, oh, well, of course, he wants to spread his acting wings. He wants to do something different. He wants to play around with other characters. And that totally makes sense. And it's something that I never thought about.
Well, I mean, I loved my character on iZombie, and I thoroughly enjoyed, every day getting new dialogue and seeing what joke I had to make work or what autopsy we were doing. I loved it, but I was fucking sick of it by season 4. Like I did it. I figured it out. He's not going to now drastically change. Like I've done it. The job is done. Now it's just existing. rather than creating. And fortunately, they then were like, do brains. Not because I was being difficult or anything. They just wanted to see me tackle some brains now and again. And that became like, oh, okay, I'm back in. But then that got old. I was like, okay, well, that's brains done. So it gets to a point where, like, as an actor, it's not even money. It's not even money. It's just, I don't think as actors you're used to doing the same job over and over and over again. It's like working on the same painting for 5 years. That's how I see it, and I'm appreciative of it, and I'm glad people like looking at my painting. I can't put more on it. It's done. I would like a blank canvas. I need to step away from this. It's done. It's done.
Is that in any way like the reason was that in any way the reason for the move from the UK to the US? And what was that transition like? Because personally, for me, I find that very interesting, and how the dynamic shifted if like from like being in the UK as an actor and going to the US.
I never
Did you
moved.
talk about that?
No, I never moved. It wasn't part of the plan. I had very little success in the UK. And it was, I mean, I was in a very kind of like, in that building, you talk about ceilings and stuff like that. I had maxed out in a very low level floor, and there was no prospect of me ever smashing through that ceiling in the UK. I was never going to get cast as a series regular on a BBC show. I had maxed out, and I was going around in circles. The only thing that I was booking was commercials. And now I'm like 27. I've been doing it for like 7-8 years of just auditions and rejection. I mean, I'd still go up for big stuff, like, but it always felt like, well, they already had their offers out to who they want, and then they're just doing this cattle call with you and the same group of people that they have no interest in casting. That was my experience in the UK. And I had a really bad audition one night for 24, and I wasn't particularly happy with the way that I was spoken to and treated, and I was quitting. I was like, I'm fucking done. So I called my manager up after leaving, and I was like, I can't take it no more. It's just so mean, man. I'm done. And what am I doing this for? I'm broke. I'm done. And they said, okay, cool. We'll talk about it. Give it some, take some time. We'll talk about this. We have an audition for you for a pilot, which I hadn't done before, for a show called iZombie. And I was like, okay, cool. So they gave me the weekend, and then I went in on Monday, and I was still a bit angry about where I was at. And I kind of, like a hate fuck. I hate fucked my audition.
Nice.
I did it out of I know it's a weird, I've never used that expression before, but I don't even know if it wasn't so much about caring as much about proving to myself that I belong and that I deserve and that I'm being looked over. And I know I knocked that audition out of the park, because I remember the casting director sat back and was like, how long have you been acting? And I was like, 8 years. And she was like, have you ever auditioned for me? And I was like, I don't know. She was like, where have you been? And I knew something was wrong. I was like, at this point, like, casting directors don't even, like, do you know what I mean? They were shocked that it was even at any level of competent. So I knew something was up. And then anyway, I was brought back in a few days later, and then by that Friday I'd booked the show. So a full 7 days later, I went from I'm quitting, I can't do this no more, I don't like it, it's mean, to signing contracts for Warner Brothers for the series, for the lead, one of the lead roles on iZombie.
That's
So that's
so
how
cool.
that happened. Yeah, so it wasn't like I moved to America. So I just went to Vancouver and shot the pilot. And I was supposed to just bounce between London and Vancouver for the rest of that show, but I ended up moving to LA because of other opportunities that had opened up. But now I harbor, again, I'm a very honest person, and I will admit my flaws, and I unfairly harbor resentment towards the UK, and I still do. So when I'm offered stuff for the UK, or they ask me to come back and do stuff, I'm like, fuck off. America saved my life, and now you want me to look at your script? Now you want to talk to me? Get fucked. So that's where my attitude is right now, which is super unfair, and probably bad for business. But I'll get over it. It'll just take some time.
So we're going to move into a fun question from McKenna.
Oh, yes.
Change of pace.
Sorry, I feel like I've been this happened on the Kind of Funny. I have to apologize. I think maybe it's been cooped up. All my shit's been super serious and mean and angry, but I'm very grateful. I'm sorry if I keep bringing down podcasts.
No, you're not bringing anything down.
Okay.
I more want to bring your energy back, into a positive space for you.
Okay, cool.
You're amazing. This whole conversation has been wonderful.
Just as long as nobody cries this episode, we can call it a success.
Well, and if you do cry, hopefully it's out of a place of like love and mutual respect, like not like because someone's being sad.
Which most of us
I nearly
have done,
cried when I was talking about my love of serial killers. That's where I got the most emotional. Anyway, we're talking over McKenna. Sorry.
We're gonna have to talk off air about the whole serial killer thing because I'm right there with you.
Sure, I'm down.
This community question is from Erica at Ambulina, and she asks, what is your dream model kit build and which has been your favorite that you've done so far?
My dream model kit build is to pluck up the courage to do a 72nd scale Millennium Falcon. I owned the fine molds one when I was in London, and I thought I'd work my way through. So I would do like I'd do the Y-wing, I'd get my X-wing done, but like the Millennium Falcon's the holy grail, man. You don't want to mess that up because there's so much paint and colors and weathering. But I kind of tapped out. It just was too intimidating. So and that's still in my attic, or my parents' attic, in the UK. But Sideshow sent me the Bandai 72nd scale as a gift, which is the same thing, pretty much. And again, it's sitting in that closet, and I want to do it because it's my favorite ship of all time. But I'm too scared. I also I never got into lighting my own kits. That's another skill that I hadn't got into. Everything I've ever done has always just been no lighting, just a straight paint and build. And I'm serious. I just bought a 48 scale X-Wing and TIE Fighter. And the reason I bought those two was to have extra room to learn how to LED light that kit. So that's my next. So once I feel like there's a progression. So once I feel confident that I nailed that and I'll light the others, then I will. Because there's no way you make a Millennium Falcon, you don't light it. You have to light the Millennium Falcon. Like the cockpit's got to light up. So I'll get there, but that is the holy grail of kits.
I highly recommend checking out Kamui Cosplay. It's KMUI Cosplay. She does a lot of cosplay work, but she works a lot with like doing smoke and LEDs and stuff for her different cosplay builds.
Yeah.
And she's got some really cool ideas that can be applied to just about anything that you're building. Oh, sweet.
Yeah. Can you DM me that
I will.
link on Instagram? Thank you. I'll check that. Yeah, that's my favorite use of the social media. My feed in the old days used to be smut. I first got social media and I got rid of all of that. And now all my feed is like, oh, you work with clay? Follow. Oh, you like do cosplay? You make your own armor and weather? Follow. Gundam? Follow. So like all I do when I'm not reading about myself is I'm just watching. Today I got to give a shout out. There's a video on YouTube. His name is Ravi Pla. So Ravi like the character I played, but Pla like Gunpla. And this dude fucking modded one of his Gundams from scratch. And it's 20 minutes long. It's got like 60,000 views. It doesn't have a lot of eyes on it. It's one of the most creative, most beautiful builds I've ever watched, as someone literally makes the pieces themselves out of like epoxy. And I've never seen anything like it. And I was watching it this morning, and that's my happy place on the internet, is watching people make like dope shit. Like I love that. Yeah.
Custom builds are definitely like the thing that I want to try and get into when I have like time someday, because sculpting and molding is such a cool idea, but like the time and dedication to learning it is insane.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Like I can barely so I do lose motivation sometimes. I can barely do what like the basic build, like from start to finish. So when you see people do the custom stuff where they're like, you know what, it's not accurate enough. I'm going to build this and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to like. There's a guy on Instagram. He's French. His Instagram handle is Model Kit Star Wars, I believe. Or just search my followers and type Star Wars and you'll see it. This person has dedicated their entire page to hyper accurate model kit builds. So he's working on the DeLorean right now, and it's
Nice.
and his custom work. I mean, he'll scrape the cable off and redo the cabling to make sure it looks exactly how it was and the color match. And he'll print his own I've never seen anything like it. He's my favorite Instagram account for custom builds.
You mentioned that your Millennium Falcon build is still at home in the attic. So you've been doing model kits for a long time, it sounds like.
Yeah, I did them badly as a kid. When I think back to like the kits my dad bought me once in a while, I puke thinking of how I painted them, which was like, there's the TIE fighter. The brush gets dipped into the tin and just got slathered on like that. Like, I'd slapped my younger self if I'd seen that.
That's like me and my Warhammer 40K stuff.
Oh yeah, the
like,
original Warhammer stuff.
Like
yeah.
seeing my original paints versus like the stuff after watching like people on Twitch and YouTube and kind of learning different brush techniques and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, how did I even think that was okay?
And it's usually the most common mistake is how it's the most common mistake is not thinning your paints. It's so basic, but most of the errors you see is someone's just gone and then just done that, and it's gloopy. But and I still make that mistake because I do Star Wars Legion, which is the same scale as Warhammer and stuff. And if you look at my first set there of Stormtroopers, I didn't even thin them correctly because I can see that. I can see that it's just a little bit too thick, but yeah, it's now that I've learned, I started learning the real way in about like I want to say 2012, 2013. It was after watching Battlestar Galactica, and I bought the Viper and and Galactica, and I just wanted to learn. So, and I was bored, and I was just going to audition, so I needed something to keep me busy. And then I learned, I'm supposed to prime a kit. I'm supposed to do this and thin it, and that's called a wash, and that's called dry brushing. So it's fun to learn and progress. But I'm still like terrible compared to the people I follow on social media.
Oh, me too. Me 100%. But it's still like that leveling up process of going, oh man, I am getting better at this.
Absolutely. And you are. That's the thing. You look at it, like if you compare my two Stormtroopers right now, it's like two different people did it. But even the one that I think's good is still like
yeah, look at some competition work and you're just like, ow.
Yeah. I like when you see some of the Warhammer, like the shading and the paint transitions, and it's like some bastard has used 40 different paints on just like a cape. And the level just to get that, and I'm like, I barely want to do 2 shades of paint on this. If it's red, it's red. But no, they've like it's every they're it's incredible. It's incredible. I'm glad I found that hobby when I did, because my life can be very loud, and being on set, and no disrespect, but podcasts, and a lot of my job is talking and interacting, and there's a lot of noise in my life. And then there's that hobby which requires no one and dead silence, and it's just me and this thing that's that big as I just focus on this hyper thing right there. It just gives me so much like inner peace and meditation, so I'm very appreciative of that.
That's awesome.
If someone's got that much time to do that many coats of paint, maybe we should actually check on them just to make sure they aren't serial killers as well, just to be on the safe side.
You know what? You're right though, because I think there was a serial killer that painted minis. There was.
I might know.
I think BTK made models of his victims. I'm pretty sure.
Research McKenna.
I'm on it.
I think
She's on it.
BTK made models of it. But wasn't there a film where like a model kit maker was it Lovely Bones with Rose? Wasn't Stanley Tucci's guy making models?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm right?
Yeah, great movie. That was great.
Shout out
Jackson.
to Rose.
It's been a while since I've watched that movie, but that sounds right.
I'm sure model kit makers have had a bad rap in movies. I want to turn it into. I want to be the fuckboy model kit maker, the hype beast, and some Jordans and some Cristal, but he still paints legions.
To be fair, a lot of the people that do the crazy paint work also sell their sets for like ridiculous amounts of money. So that's why they have so much time, is they turn it into what they do for a living.
Absolutely, yeah. The commission builds and stuff like that. Yeah.
That doesn't mean they're not serial killers. I'm just throwing that out there.
Now,
You got
while we're
paid for your
researching,
cleaning
I did. I just wanted to say a huge thank you, Rahul, because you may not know, but I did just a stupid Photoshop. It was like the haunting of Tatooine, and it was Uncle Owen, and
The moisture
I don't think I
farm.
tagged you in it, but I think it was like Cameron Cuff that might have tagged you in it, and that got a lot of love. And it was at a time where I wasn't feeling too confident in my photoshopping, so I really appreciate that, mate, for all the support there.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Again, working on that. It always makes me smile. I love that stuff. And yeah, I always forget as well. Like I'll press a retweet and then I walk away and I forget that someone else on the other end is that their work's being seen and people are like, this is dope. And I ignore it because I'm like, I've had my moment with it, but I forget for someone else that that's their work that is now being seen. So it's a nice reminder that it makes people happy.
Yeah, thank you. And one question we ask every guest, which I should probably go through now, is in relation to one Greg Miller. Obviously, he's a big fan of the show. He's a friend of the show. We had him on, obviously, recently. Before then, we had a lot of people on the show, including Kind of Funny members, and there was a lot of sort of just controversy around, what potentially Greg Miller might be. He's, obviously in all places at once. He's hosting EA Play. He's tweeting at the same time. He's then somehow recording another show. He's just everywhere at once. So there were a lot of theories going around. Is he a clone? Is he like a Michael Keaton from Multiplicity, or maybe some sort of Emperor Palpatine clone? Is he some sort of different species, an android? A lot of different theories were thrown around.
Does he have a hyperbolic time chamber in his background?
Exactly. So we like to ask every guest what they think Greg Miller potentially is, and how is he able to be everywhere at once?
I think that it's more like Moon. I think he doesn't know he has other Greg Millers.
Oh.
They line them up, and then one Greg expires and another one activates. That's how they churn them out, because they work them so hard that no human can sustain that kind of level of intensity. So he's like Sam Rockwell. So don't tell him. But I feel like if he pulls up the floorboards in his house, there's like 5 Greg Millers on ice, just ready to activate.
That's a great answer. I love that.
And then McKenna, you had another community question.
Yes. This one is from... I'm also still researching the serial killer thing. Anyway.
Appreciate it.
This... Actually, this person asked 2 questions. Reese Boy at _ Reese Boy on Twitter asks, first question, what video game would you like to see adapted to a TV show / movie? And the second question, is there a video game character you could see yourself playing?
I can answer that in the same thing. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Disco Elysium, and it was Alana Pierce had said you could play the detective, and which is kind of an insult, because most people keep insulting that character's face and appearance, and he stinks and he can't. But like,
and some of the things that he says,
and some of the things that you choose for him to say, for sure.
Sure, yeah.
So just because it's relevant, and I'm playing through Disco Elysium for the second time, I'm gonna give that a shout. And if anyone hasn't checked it out either on PC or the Final Cut, oh my god, please go! It's one of the best games of the year, or that year.
One of these days I'll get to it. My backlog is just killing me right now.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I just finished Miles Morales yesterday. I started
Did
that.
you?
I started that in January, and I got like halfway through, started doing side stuff, and then I don't know,
You got
something
your
else.
Have you got your platinum?
Not yet. I'm working on it right now. I'm trying to get it nice. You got the platinum for Bloodborne? That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh shit, good.
No, I don't. I don't
Yeah.
know. No. Well, I'm trying to think what my hardest platinum was. You know what was the one that took the most work? It's really weird because I've got a few. It was I only just did God of War the other day, the platinum,
That
which
one was-
wasn't that hard. I left it on normal. I didn't crank it up or down. But Modern Warfare 2, I've platinumed.
I'm working on that literally right now. Like I just
Are you
did
serious?
I'm dead serious. I re-downloaded it a couple days ago. Last night I just got the trophy for the beating the best time in the gauntlet in the beginning.
Yeah.
Jesus. That took
Yeah.
just run after run
That-
after run. Oh my god.
I feel like that one because I did it when I didn't do the remaster. I got that platinum because it was one of my first platinums. I got it when it just originally released on PS3, and it was getting it was getting 3 stars on. I believe that's what it is. I'm trying to remember. You got to get 3 stars on all your special ops or something
Yeah,
with
something like
with a
that.
buddy. And that grind was. You know what's messed up though? You know you can now see how long you play games for. Like it's they let you know your logged hours.
Yeah.
So I have somewhere. I play a lot of games and I get a lot of games done, but for some reason I don't know how I do this. I still manage to clock in over 250 hours plus on FIFA, which yields nothing. It doesn't get you anywhere because I'll put 200. I put 250 hours into FIFA 21. No, what was the last one we had? FIFA 21 is this one. FIFA 20. I put over 250 hours on it, and I know I had it on Xbox and PC because I was jumping between systems depending on what country I was in. I have 1% of trophies. I do not understand what the fuck is wrong with FIFA. Why I can put 250 hours into it and I only have 1%
Dude,
completed
there's just
trophies.
some crap trophy lists out there. I mean, I had to give Mike Bithell a lot of shit when he was on the show because honestly, his trophies in his games are garbage.
Oh, really?
I straight up told him to his face, I'm like, Mike, you got to fix your trophies because they're awful. It's like, hey, there's one in volume for dying like 100 times. It's like, well, what if you beat the game? If you want the trophy, you have to go back and you just have to keep
keep dying.
dying over and over. It's like, come on, man.
My biggest trophy faux pas is it kills me. It is multiple playthroughs. If it requires multiple playthroughs, like Demon's Souls, I finished, and I actually for the most part got a lot done, and that's always a good feeling, right? Because I don't go out for trophy hunting, but it's a good feeling when you play a game, you enjoy it. You've done everything you've wanted to do without like checking what's available and I need 250 more of this combo to lock this trophy. I don't play like that. I usually enjoy a game without paying attention to trophies. And when when the credits roll, I have a look and I'm like, 60%. That's not bad. And then depending on how I feel about that game, I'm like, is it worth it? Should I do it? If it requires a playthrough on multiple difficulties, I'm out. That to me is the most arrogant fucking thing a games developer could do is go, now play it again on hard or extra hard, which I think is also mean for accessibility issues.
Yeah. If it's there from the beginning, I'm cool with it. If it's like Call of Duty, like beat it on veteran, you knock out.
And you don't have to do it twice or whatever,
But
then
it's like
great.
you have to unlock each. Oh god, I hate that.
Yeah, you
That's
do
so
that
irritating.
and you hide it behind that wall. To me, that's just like it's just mad arrogant of
I'll say
them.
online trophies. Online ones are the worst because they just become
You're right.
inaccessible. At some point, they're gonna be gone. So going back to play older games, like I don't know if you've ever played it, Mercenaries 2, back in the day. Pandemic Studio, great studio. Fuck EA for killing them. Unless you ever want to work with EA, then EA is great. But it's like there's single player trophies that require the server. It's like, hey, earn $1 million while connected to EA servers. Well, it's like a single player offline trophy that you can't get anymore because the servers are just dead. It's like,
I'm angry at these lot. Doom Eternal's ones are wrapped up in a multiplayer mode, and I tried it, and it did make me try a mode I probably wouldn't have tried if it wasn't for the trophies. But when I saw what I had to do, I was like, "Fuck this!" I would have loved to have platinum Doom Eternal just because that's my shit. That's that's what I love. But
I would have loved to finish Doom Eternal, honestly. But that came out. I know. Let me preface this by saying my PS4 Pro started having massive issues.
It did.
It was a launch
That's
Pro,
not a lie.
so like thermal paste apparently was super dried up, but I couldn't dismantle it. I would always get down to like the very last part. It's like, oh, disconnect the power supply and you can get in there. And it's like, I couldn't disconnect it. It's like, I'm not going to risk breaking it. I'm done. So Doom Eternal, Modern Warfare, and Final Fantasy VII Remake would
so it was
cause
the last.
to,
It was the last ones that required a little bit more.
yeah, it would cause it to overheat. Like, no joke, I
Yeah.
would boot up Doom Eternal and within 10 minutes it would shut off. Well, I guess I'm. And then, by the time I got my PlayStation 5, it had been like, 8 months, and I just kind of gave up at that point because it's like, do I really want to go back and try to remember where I was at? Because I was like 4 hours in, and I don't necessarily want to restart.
Well, I want to do another playthrough of Doom Eternal because I finished it on Ultra Violence, and I got all my collectibles. I did it to the max, but without a platinum. But I wanted to redo the DLC, but the DLC starts so hard, like it requires you to be in Doom Eternal shape. I think to play, especially if I want to play it on Ultra Violence, like it requires me to have been at the point where you're jumping in rooms at the end and you're just like, it's all
Yeah,
second
you get
nature.
so used to the like, I guess the puzzle of each combat scenario
Exactly.
and switching back and forth and what weapons to use to most efficiently take out which enemies, and then you go away from it for one video game and try and come back and you're like,
Oh yeah, it's a and it you mine, you farm, like you don't just run in and kill everyone. You can't because you got like I need
Right.
you. I need to set you on
Yep.
fire in a minute so I can take like it's fantastic in that respect. But yeah, it's one of those games like I could still pick up COD after 5 games, jump online and come within the first top 3, I guess. Like I know that's fine. There is a certain level of in shape you have to be, but you can still eke out a win within an hour or so. Doom Eternal, nope. But, and I keep forgetting this, so I keep reminding myself, leave it alone, don't touch it. It's, even though I have a PC that will run it in ultra, whatever, I want to play that DLC on this screen there, and they are releasing it for PS5 this year. So it'll be a good, when that comes out, I think it's this year, that's a great excuse to like hit it
Go
from
back.
the beginning again and play it. It's,
Yeah.
play it on the PS5. Get some haptic.
First of all, thank you, Gage, for killing the chance of getting Mike Bithell back on the show.
And getting us
yeah, I'm
that
gonna tell
EA
him.
code, dude.
I'm sure he's gonna watch this episode because he watches all of our content.
Yeah.
Not really.
I'll make sure he watches it. I'll give him a word.
Oh no.
I've worked with Mike. I'm a big
Yeah,
fan
North
of
Star
Mike.
Rising.
Good
He
North Star Rising.
actually said he wanted to be back on the show, so
Well, I think he was just
thanks.
being nice, honestly.
Not now. Not now.
not now.
No, he's a good dude.
North Star Rising was fantastic, though. I absolutely loved that.
I haven't listened to it yet.
It's pretty great. It's pretty fun.
I was mortified because the first episode was my fault that it sounds the way it does because I didn't have proper recording equipment. So everyone had to sound like they were in a ship because my mic was low quality. So I felt bad. I went and like bought all of this. I went on a spending spree. Actually, this sounds so Hollywood. So I called Troy Baker and I was like, "Yo, how do you have like a home studio? What do I need?" So all of this is Troy, who like came through and like showed me how to get like this fucking thing, and
Hey, I have one of those. It's right here.
it's great. It's perfect. So
I
that
just
was
imagine
courtesy of
Troy answering that call. He's like, "Yeah, man, what do you need? What do you? Oh, you're trying to do a great. I got this great hookup at this one place. This dude's name is like Octavio. Let me give you his number."
That's exactly what happened. I swear to God, he had a go-to guy at a place. God, can't remember the name of the shop, and he gave him a list and told me what to ask for, and yeah, that's exactly what happened. But that was for North Star Rising, so I never listened to the show afterwards because I just felt so fucking bad. When I heard the first ep and the audio quality was my fault, I was like, oh.
That's the great thing though, is it's not about the audio quality necessarily. It's about, the story and the
Hmm.
journey that the characters go on. So
Sure.
you should definitely check it out if you haven't
I will.
listened to the
Yeah.
whole thing yet.
I will check it
Especially
out.
since you're in it. Then again, I know that there are some actors out there that don't like watching or listening to stuff they're in. I mean, I even know, Gage, we've talked about you not watching episodes back that you're on because you hate watching yourself on camera. So I totally get that. But do you feel that way as far as,
Yeah, I
watching
can't
stuff?
watch it. I need some actors can when you're on set, you can have a peek and see what you've just done, or I can't. I'm like, I don't need this wall broken right now. I don't want to see what we're making. I don't want to start second guessing. I don't want to feel like I didn't lose enough weight. Like, oh, this accent sounded better in my head. I can't. It's mortifying. It's especially while you're in it. But then there is a level that requires you to watch it, especially when you do press. I had to do press for Midnight Mass already. We did something super early, and I've only been out of filming since December, and I couldn't remember a fucking thing. And this interview was like February, and I couldn't remember lead characters' names. I was like, who's that again? Like, I don't know what point you're making. Like, so you do have to, like, there is a level of, I get over my shit once we've wrapped, because I think it's unprofessional of me to not know the product that I am now also contractually obliged to sell and get audiences to watch. So I don't like it, but I get over it.
Did anyone else have any other questions that they wanted to ask before we start the wrap up?
Take that
I'm
as
gonna
a no.
take the silence as no. I'm gonna ask one
It's a
more
hard
community
no.
question. Well, I mean, to be fair, we've covered a lot of great topics and gone over a lot of different information, and so it's been a lot of fun. Um, so we have one more community question, and that is from Kumail H, or H, as Gage likes to say.
As he
And
likes to say, I just like calling him on his shit. But we had Mike Bithell on the show, straight up like, "Hey, do you Brits actually talk like this?" And he's like, "No, everything else is great, but H, I don't do that." And I'm like, "See, Camille, you're wrong."
I don't do H. It's
Thank
H.
you, thank you. I'm gonna tell him you said that.
Well, what does Rahul put Liverpool's strange season down to? Is it fatigue? Was it the loss of Van Dijk, or was the loss of Van Dijk enough to disrupt the entire system? Sidebar: your recent episode of Kind of Funny was amazing. Thank you for all the great laughs. Thank you, Judge.
Thank you, man. Van Dyke. Not that this interests anyone right now, so I feel like I am literally talking to myself.
You are.
It was Van Dyke's injury, because we were still doing pretty well, but it affects the system. We lose confidence when your best player and your best defender is gone. You don't, when your defense is weak, you don't punch as hard. Your offense is weakened. And that's what happened. And then it had a knock-on effect. So we lost Alisson Becker for reasons. We lost Joe Gomez. We lost everyone. And you do that in the Premier League, and it's going to bite you in the arse. So I don't think anyone needs to be fired. I don't think there needs to be a big change. We just need our best players back fit. So
Perfect. That was a nice, concise answer.
Yeah.
And then we always like to end it on something fun. So for this one, we know who you'd love to play in the Star Wars universe. But who is your favorite Star Wars character? If you can nail it down to like one singular character.
No, two.
Okay.
Two. I do OT and a prequel.
Okay.
So original trilogy is Han Solo. And I don't know if I need to explain why. It's Han. It's Han. And prequel is Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Okay.
What about sequel trilogy, huh?
I've never seen them.
Bullshit.
I do not address them. I've never seen them.
Not even Force Awakens? The only one that's actually somewhat good?
Have you seen it since the other movies come out?
It's
a wonderful thing when a sequel breaks its other films.
I haven't seen it after Rise of Skywalker, but admittedly, I like Rise of Skywalker, but for all the wrong reasons. I like it because it's kind of fun and it's very pretty, even though the whole plot makes zero sense, but at the same time, coming off of Last Jedi, I kind of get it. Because essentially, okay, let's get into some Star Wars. So Last Jedi does nothing. I don't like Last Jedi because it ends where it starts. The whole movie is essentially pointless. It's a second act that is no second act. It's just you lose one character, technically two characters, but then that's all just kind of retcon to the next movie. So technically, Rise of Skywalker is the second and third act squished into one. Yada yada yada. Kind of breaks everything, but hey, it was better than it had any right to be. Not saying it's necessarily a good movie, but it could have been a whole lot worse.
Okay.
Also, episode 3 is phenomenal, and anybody who says otherwise sucks.
I understand this is serious. I am a part of the Star Wars community. I don't like just because I'm an actor, like it's doesn't invalidate my
I never
opinion,
would have guessed looking behind you.
Right?
So, but one thing that I've lost is the ability to speak freely and criticize the franchise because it has conflicted with stuff. So I
Oh,
do
right.
not
Sorry.
offer.
Everything Star Wars is good. Hire Rahul Kohli, please, Disney.
So you know what the thing is, I don't even give a shit anymore about it. But Star Wars is one of those things where I feel like one day something's going to get clipped, and then I'm going to have to answer for a take with a director and their interpretation of it. So it's just not worth me. I'm talking about people like, and it's happening now. I spoke about someone's project. This is a secret project. I spoke about something negatively and then worked with that person not long after and felt like such an asshole that I didn't bring it up because I was like, I think I made fun of this person on social media and now I work with them. So, well, not made fun of them, but something they made. So where Star Wars is concerned, it's too big now. It's, you know, you're not making fun of George Lucas. You could be making fun with your next
Rahul in Knives Out 2
Yeah.
confirmed.
so but that's the point, right? Like even said, you know, so and I'm at that point where, you know, so I leave it at this where my feelings are concerned. And I think I tweeted about it. I'm a big fan of George Lucas and George Lucas's movies. I am not a Disney basher because I absolutely adored a lot of Rebels and Mandalorian.
Yeah, so good.
And I wasn't super blown away by the sequels, but if you enjoy them, good on you. I'm happy for you. But
Yeah.
my Star Wars saga is 6 movies long, but I will still love someone even if theirs is 9 movies long. That's where I'm at right now.
Frankly, that's how every Star Wars fan should be.
Yeah.
It's such a tough community because it's like you can't have a conversation with somebody about it. It's like I'll admit I don't like The Last Jedi, but I'm not gonna come at somebody who does like it and try to, you know, tear him down for it or try to. It's like, here's my reasoning for why I don't like it, but if you like it, awesome. Like,
I think we get into problems when you say the sequel trilogy is better than the prequel trilogy, and it's like, okay, cool, but remember this is art and it's subjective, and everything you're saying is bollocks because no one can prove otherwise. Everyone has specific taste. There are some individuals who put sequel movies or prequel movies above original trilogy movies. They are not right or wrong. It is their feelings. My favorite Star Wars movie is The Empire Strikes Back. For some people, like Bruce Green's a good friend of mine, right? Bruce is a big Star Wars fan. Bruce's favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi with the Ewok.
Same here.
There you go. But that don't mean I'm right, you're right, Hugh's wrong. There's that. It just means that resonates with you and however the circumstances you saw it. So I'm growing up with, because the truth of the matter is, man, like I've got a godson, and right now his entry to Star Wars, probably when he's a couple years older and he starts going into the Disney store, is going to be the sequels. But why the fuck am I going to gatekeep? I'm just going to be like, hey, Apollo wants to dress up like Finn. Good. But when he's a bit older, I'm going to sit him down. We're going to watch some good old fashioned OT. And I'm going to show him the ways. And we're going to play some Jedi Outcasts and some Knights of the Republic. So like, as long as he gets you, like, I think, again, one of the best things, sorry if I'm ranting, but
No, you're great.
That was fantastic.
my mum, like, so I got into Star Wars to me, you got to remember, so my parents had this kid who was obsessed with these movies they didn't care about or know about, to the point where this kid fucking drops out of school because he wants to be in them. He breaks into the studio where they're doing Attack of the Clones. This is what their kid's doing, and they have yet to watch them or give a toss, but they don't care. So my entire life changes. And I'm now an actor. Why? Because this idiot thinks he's going to be in the Star Wars movies. So that's my whole life. And at no point did that change motivate my parents to watch Star Wars. And then The Mandalorian came out, and they watched the first episode. And then they liked it, and they carried on. And they started giving me a call, and they were like, "So what does this mean? And what's that a reference to? And okay, so what timeline is this?" And I'm now having this conversation with my parents about the Star Wars universe because Disney made this show that they're watching. And then when Boba Fett shows up, spoiler, my mum's like, "What's a Boba Fett?" And I'm like, "This is dope. All right, I'll tell you what Boba Fett is." Because she's like, "I recognize it from your house. Like you have to." So that's what Disney did for me. And Mandalorian's not perfect, but it meant that my mum was interested in this. And so like I said, so if I meet someone who likes the sequels and Force Awakens was their first Star Wars movie, like it's probably might be with I don't know what Apollo's, my godson's first Star Wars interaction is going to be. But when it happens, it just means he's in the club. All right, he's in the Star Wars club. And Disney doing that for a new generation can only lead to good things. So stop gatekeeping. Jesus Christ.
And I think that's one of the biggest, most important things about accessibility. Like one of the biggest reasons I feel like, Bly Manor blew up the way it did was the fact that it was available on Netflix, and everybody and their mother has Netflix. And same thing goes for Disney Plus. Like everybody, there's what was was it 70 million accounts or something that Disney Plus has right now? It was a ridiculous number. I'll have to actually look it up to make sure, but it was a very large number of people that had Disney Plus accounts, and that many people, looking at this library and having Mandalorian splashed across the front of it, is going to get a lot of people that may have never touched the series before a chance to watch it. And I think stuff like that is fantastic. Because the more we get people into these different things, these different franchises, it means the more we're actually going to get those franchises or those things, because what's popular makes money, and money makes content. So absolutely.
And it leads to great things. It leads to, it leads to like, oh, that's a renewed interest. Cool. That means Bandai might release some more kits now. So I got more model kits. Oh, EA and other games company have got more pictures because the ramifications of that, remasters, remakes, whatever. We've now finally, like the Clone Wars, Kennedy's Clone Wars wasn't available on streaming. It's only on the DVD if you want to watch it in 480 or whatever. Now it's on Disney Plus. So I get to watch that again in HD. So and I'm not a sequel fan, but I'm absolutely benefiting from my Hot Toys releases and more stuff that's going on. And I know that it was always there, but like there was less interest after the prequels. It dipped off. When I was building Fine Molds kits and stuff, they weren't readily available. I had to order them from Hobby Link Japan because it stopped being profitable. And the Clone Wars, for instance, I love. Clone Wars is my favorite Star Wars thing ever. But even that, like, I couldn't find people talking about it. I could find it on the internet, but no one in real life was watching the Clone Wars. They're like, "What the fuck are you watching a cartoon for, bro? What's this?" And when I tried to get people to watch it, they're like, "It's for kids." The animate, like, obviously, but now, like Mandalorian, the fact that like I'm the only kind of real person in my group of friends, and I mean my real group of friends, the three boys I grew up with. They're not part of nerd culture, man. And I've always had to like fly the flag for what I like while they have like what they like. So it was always me talking about some stupid Star Wars thing, and they had to pretend they cared, and I had to pretend I cared about sports. And then on the WhatsApp group this year, it's all Mandalorian talk. And then it's like, yo, should we watch where's Ahsoka Tano from? Like, what do we do? Like, how do I get what's it about?
Now you're interested in Clone Wars. Oh, now.
But to me, so like that tweet that I was responding to, that's someone saying that, but in a negative. Like, oh, where the fuck you been, man? I used to like girls used to make fun of me and all of this nonsense. And they're like, and now you want to do it because of the stuff. Yeah, they do. And it's
That's
great.
awesome.
Why isn't it? You can finally talk to people about it. Like the fact that people come up to me, like my family, my friends, and they're like, they see these hot toys now and sort of know who some of these people are. And it's not just, why are you spending your money on toys, you idiot? Like, it's awesome. So even if I don't like half the shit, cool. I'll leave you with this, all right? Because I'm in a ranty mood on this Sunday. Star Wars, and this is actually applicable to a lot more than just Star Wars, right?
Yeah, superheroes too. I mean,
superheroes too. Yeah, this analogy I'm going to use is what I use for everything. All right, but I'm going to limit it to Star Wars. It's a fucking restaurant. It's a Star Wars restaurant. In what world do you go to a restaurant and like everything on the menu? At what world do you go to a restaurant, open up a menu, and complain about the things you don't eat? No, you look for what you like and you consume that. And if you don't like the thing that you like, then fine, you don't eat at that restaurant again. You go seek it elsewhere, or you try something else on the menu. But that's what we do. But at no point, because they've got items on there that aren't for you or you don't like, do you cancel the restaurant, blame the owners because you don't eat mushrooms and they serve these mushroom dishes. No, you just avoid those things. And that's what Star Wars became for me as I got older. Okay, cool. I don't love everything at this restaurant. Okay, there's been a change of ownership. It's still got this named. It's still named after my favorite restaurant. There's new items on the menu. I tried this one, didn't like it. I tried that one, I like that one. Cool. But at no point do I shout at the neighboring table because they like that new dish. So grow the fuck up.
Speaking of dishes, you posted a tweet yesterday or earlier today.
Yeah. I know what it is about.
Come on, dude. Pineapple on pizza? Really?
Fuck.
Hey,
No,
say it. Say what that about the fruit thing. Go on. Say the big argument about the fruit. You shouldn't have fruit on a pizza.
Honestly, I don't really give a shit. I'm just not a fan of it.
My favorite thing is why would you put fruit on a pizza, right? And it's like, what do you think a fucking tomato is?
What do you think a tomato is? What do you think a jalapeno is? Like, a pepper is still a fruit, like, like a bell pepper, like, stop it.
I thought we were united in our love for pineapple pizza. Are we not? I had no idea.
I just wanted to bring it up because I just love the tweet. It was something like,
this is the one that was going to
lead to your unemployment or whatever.
Yeah.
I was like,
There's
that.
Like, do people wonder what a zucchini is? Like, I mean, it's technically a squash, but I mean, it's still a fruit, right?
Right.
Just saying.
Those are
no topping shame here. We don't topping shame, You put what you want on your pizza.
Isn't a lemon a fruit?
A lemon is a fruit?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Yeah.
So
I'm just very basic when it comes to pizza. It's like I just want pepperoni. That's it.
Oh, same.
If anybody has anything else, like even if it's like really good, if it's like, oh, we got like this nice buffalo chicken pizza or something, I'm just like, where's the pepperoni at, man? Like that's all I want.
Sure.
But
have you had ham and pineapple from a good place? Have you tried it?
Yeah, it's honestly it's not bad. I'm just not a fan of pineapple in general. Like I've just never really, enjoyed that. But
the thing with so my mum's from Thailand, and a lot of the dishes there combine sweet and say my favorite dish is a green curry, and that's predominantly coconut milk. So I think and then if you were to eat like a spring roll, or you were to eat like anything like that, you're dipping it in a sweet chili sauce. So there's always this combination of especially in ethnic foods, where you will combine sweet and savory. So I think my palate really enjoys like hot sauce on a Hawaiian pizza with the ham there, and then getting that little burst of flavor with a bite, like that little sweetness. So it's something that I guess, and it's an ethnic thing, maybe. I don't know. But I think I grew up eating sweet for dinner. There was always something sweet mixed into something. So it's not as offensive to my palate. But I understand for other people, it can be like, what the fuck's this dessert doing on my main?
You ever had mango salsa?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, gosh, so good.
So good. So good.
But I think that's a great place to wrap up. Fruit is good, okay?
Yeah, fruit's very good.
And a lot of things are fruit that you may not think are fruit. So let's back off pineapple, all right?
Yeah. Okay.
Let's close this out, Gage.
All right. I guess we can just kind of go around the table. pimp stuff out, you guys can follow me at GF2Cool on Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. Obviously, simplysassyvids.com. Here on YouTube, stuff like that. Al, where can people find you?
I'm Al Tribesman on everything, and right here at simplysassyvids.com.
McKenna, where can people find you?
You can find me at PotterPants212 on Twitter. I edit and produce a weekly video game news show on YouTube called Patch Notes. And I have a new podcast coming out on Tuesday called HBO Max MAKS, where we watch and review everything on HBO Max MAX.
Phil, how about you?
You can find me at Phil J Woodward on Twitter. That's 2 L's, or at Philip J Woodward on Twitch. Those are pretty much the 2 places that I'm at the most, so that's the best places to find me.
Ben, where can people find you and all of your awful milk mommy photoshops?
Thanks, Gage. You can find me at twitch.com. Please, you can find me at Please Be Excited on everything, on Twitch, on Twitter. And I just want to say, Rahul, once again, thanks again for coming on the show. But also, you sound like you're the world's best godfather. If you're ever looking for another godson, maybe one from New Zealand, just let me know, buddy. Okay.
I appreciate it. I'll give it some thought.
Cheers.
All right, Rahul, where can people find you if you want people to stalk you?
I mean, yeah, my social media is fine, but I'd prefer people do something like check out HBO Max and see shows like Harley Quinn, which didn't get a lot of views but has now. And if you feel like it, look past the stupid fucking title and check out iZombie on Netflix.
Especially that Scarecrow character, you know?
Yeah, he's not bad. But yeah, like I'd rather people watch my credits than go and see tweets about Pineapple and Star Wars. So yeah, check out IMDb and have a look at some of the work and shows that I've been lucky enough to be a part of.
All right.
Awesome.
Cool.
Thank you so much for joining us today. This was wonderful.
Thank you, Rahul.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. All right. Bye.